Hi and welcome back to the FreeFormKnits YouTube channel. I'm Haxann, also known as the Freeform Knitter, and in today's video, this is going to be a tutorial all about the Moss-Aic shawl. So this is an asymmetrical shape shawl that I created specifically to use up every single bit of scrap yarn. I held a complementing color throughout, a neutral, just a dark gray, and held it double with a bunch of my fingering weight scraps. This created this really fun, colorful palette. It's so scrappy and so much fun, and the best part is that I didn't have a ton of ends to weave in because of how I joined my scraps every time I ran out of one scrap and added a new one. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through everything you need to know to make this shawl. You can find the PDF instructions over in my Ravelry, or you can follow along for free on the instructions on my blog. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, let's get crocheting. Here's what I'm going to be using for this tutorial. How I made my Moss-Aic shawl is I actually held a strand of fingering and DK together. Because this is an asymmetrical shawl, you can really use any yarn, any hook size that you like, as long as you're happy with the gauge you're getting. You can make it as big as you like, as small as you like, whatever you want to do. But how I made mine is I held these two yarns together, this strand of gray DK and fingering, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So all I did was line them up like this, as close together as I could, and then I just held them together as one strand. So I'm going to make my slip knot, put them on my hook, and I'm just going to treat this as one yarn. So let's get ready to follow the pattern. Our pattern first gives us a setup row, so it tells us to make a slip knot, and now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. In second chain from hook, we're going to put 1 single crochet. So this is my first single crochet, my first chain, my second chain from hook, and then in the next chain we're going to put 2 single crochets in the last stitch. So it's the last stitch. I'm going to put 1, 2. That's our setup row. We still have 3 stitches. We're going to turn our work and work row 1. So row 1, we're going to chain 1, put 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now this is an asymmetrical shawl shape, which means we're only increasing along one edge, and we're increasing 1 stitch every row. So right here, this where these 2 single crochets are, this is where we're going to put our increase every single row. You're either going to be doing it on the first stitch of the row or the last stitch of the row when you're working in the other way. This is the only increase you have to worry about in the entire shawl. It's going to be this stitch, 2 single crochets in this stitch every single row. So we do that 2 single crochets in that same stitch. Now we are going to chain 1. We are going to skip 1 and single crochet in the next stitch. So we chained 1, we're going to skip this stitch and put a single crochet in this stitch, which is the last stitch of the row. And because of that increase, that brings our stitch count up to 4. That chain 1 does count as a stitch. So that's row 1. Now we turn our work, and our pattern tells us to chain 2. So this chain 2, this first chain actually counts as a turning chain, and then this other chain is actually our chain 1 that falls in the pattern. So we chain 2, we are going to skip 1. We're going to skip this stitch here and single crochet in the next chain 1 space. So this chain 1 space, that is where we're going to put our single crochet. We're going to skip this stitch, put our single crochet in this chain 1 space, and we chain 1. And this we repeat to the last 2 stitches. Now this is the beginning of our shawl. We're actually already at our last 2 stitches. And at these last 2 stitches, our pattern tells us to skip 1 and single crochet 2 in the same stitch. So we skip 1, put 2 single crochets in this stitch. We turn our work. We're on row 3. We chain 1, 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and our pattern repeat tells us to chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, which is right here, and we repeat that to the end of the row. So we skip 1, chain 1, and single crochet in the next chain 1 space. Now you remember we did that chain 2 at the end, at the beginning of the last row. So it's kind of hard to see. You kind of need to use your hook head to really get in that space. You can see we have our single crochet stitch. This is just the nature of the moss stitch. It really makes these single crochet stitches in the chain 1 spaces pop, but it can be hard to get that clean edge. So you really want to use your hook head, and here's that single crochet. You just want to kind of push your hook in, and you get a feel for this as you go in the shawl. You can see there's my chain 2, where I have my turning chain and that chain 1 space that I needed. And that's where you want to put your single crochet along this edge. You can see we're already getting the pattern to show, and for the entire shawl you just repeat these last 2 rows. So we'll go over them one more time. Chain 2, row 2 is a chain 2. We skip 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1 to last 2 stitches. So we skip 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and at the last 2 stitches we skip 1, put 2 single crochets in the last stitch. Turn our work, chain 1, 2 single crochets in the first stitch, chain 1, skip 1, 1 single crochet in the next chain 1 space, repeat that to end, chain 1, skip 1, 1 single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, 1 single crochet in the next chain 1 space. And again, we're at this edge. It doesn't show up very clearly, but like you just use your fingers, use your hook, and you can always like do the stitch, and if you decide, oh, I don't like how that looks, you can undo it, do it again. It feels simpler to do than it's probably showing up, but it does create a clean edge. And that's the entire repeat for the Moss-Aic shawl. You just keep going with these 2 rows, and you will get this moss stitch texture with this asymmetrical shape. So I've done a few more repeats on my shawl. You can really see clearly now the moss stitch patterning that is showing up. The reason I designed this shawl was because I wanted to use up scraps, and not just any scraps, just the really little bits of scraps. So how I would work my shawl is I would work one color with my DK that I held throughout, this dark gray, and I would work until it was empty, until all the yarn ran out, so I could use every little bit of these precious scraps to me. And then I would add a new scrap in, but I didn't want 1,001 ends to weave in at the end of my shawl. So what I actually did was I knotted them together so I would have no ends to weave in, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So as you can see, I'm almost at the end of this scrap. So I've already picked out my next color that I'm going to incorporate in the shawl, this next scrap, and how I'm going to knot these together in a way that they're not going to come undone. I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to go back and weave it in later. So I'm going to take these 2 ends. I'm going to lay them together, cross, just like kind of like shoelaces. Tie them together like this, and then I'm going to tie a simple knot with this first color. You can see I have the new color I'm adding in laying over it. I'm just going to tie a knot. Just a simple knot in the yarn, just with the new color within that knot. You can see it flows freely. I can move it back and forth. I could easily pull this out, but I'm not going to do that. So I did that on this side, and I'm going to do the same thing with the new color. My hook is weighing down my yarn. I'm going to move that. I'm going to do the same thing with the new color. I'm going to tie a knot with my old color laying between it. This is a lot easier if you do it like on a flat surface. It's kind of hard to it's looking more fiddly than it is because I'm trying to film my hands doing this. But you can see I'm going to tie this knot with the new color, with the old color running along it. Tie that. And so I have these 2 knots on either side, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten this old one up. I'm just going to pull this together. I can adjust this knot. I can pull in these tail ends and pull them apart, pull them together again to really tighten them up. And then what you do, so you don't have these hanging out in your work, is you just trim them away. And you have this very little knot. It's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to really feel it in the stitches. It's very tiny and secure. Honestly, some of the times I don't even bother trimming the knot because I don't have to have my my scissors with me when I'm tying a new color on. So I will just leave the tails long and crochet over them or go back and trim them. It's just very easy, and with this you've attached your new color, so all you need to do now in your project is just continue on, and you can let the color change as you crochet. So you can use every scrap of yarn. You can see I'm already at my new color. You can use every scrap of yarn, really let all your scraps shine, not waste any, and it just makes this unique piece of fabric that's unique with all of the colors you've worked with, the scraps you've made in different projects. And it's just so much fun to play with color in this way and not have to worry about ends. Not have to worry about weaving them in, and not have to worry about color management really, and perfect stripes, and just really have fun with your project. You can see I've changed color, and really once it's completed, like, you won't be able to really tell where like the knot is, where the color changes. It just kind of flows into it, and you just have so much fun with scraps like this. This is called the magic knot, and it's just my favorite way to make a scrappy project like this. That is the end of this tutorial. I hope that it helped you. I hope that it inspired you to go through your stash. Remember that you can use any yarn that you like with this shawl. You can make it all out of worsted scraps, all out of DK, solid color. You could hold a worsted and DK double, or worsted and fingering, or DK and fingering. The sky's the limit. All that matters is that you create a project that you love, that is special to you, and completely unique to you and your color palette of scraps. If there's anything you have questions about, anything at all that maybe you didn't understand in this tutorial, or you need extra help with, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will be glad to help you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun tutorials and podcasts, all things crafty, and I will see you in the next video. Happy crafting!